Board of the Monroe Public Schools Board of Education meeting. Today is June 24th, 2025, and the time is 7 p.m. Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Heck.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mrs. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Sabadini.
Here.
Mrs. Tarasi.
Here.
Mrs. Vincent.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Can we please stand for the pledge? Before we begin, just a reminder to our community members, if you'd like to address the board, there are forms on the table as you arrived with the red cloth on it. Fill one of those out and hand it to Jamie, our board administrative assistant, and we'll get you on the schedule to speak. Superintendent Shaw, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
We do have two additions. They are new business B3H, athletics pay to participate discussion, and B3I, Custer parent loop.
Can I have a motion to add these to the agenda?
It's not a discussion on the pay to play, it's a motion.
Right. But
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to list it as a discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
I will move to accept the agenda as presented with the additions.
Do we have support? Support. Any discussion by board members? Hearing none. Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sabadini.
Yes.
Mrs. Tarasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams. Yes. Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. At this point, I will turn it over to Superintendent Shaw for his superintendent comments.
All right, so everybody will be pleased to know that on this very warm night in this room, I have no comments in our first part, so we'll do it at the end. Making people happy. We do.
Okay. Then we have public commentary for board agenda items only. Carrie, do we have any?
I have one that's turned in. Would you say that this is about an agenda item or later? Later in the evening. Thank you.
Okay, we'll bring it up at the second commentary point. Next is our board discussion action items, and we have a contracted services and resignations report. Is there any discussion on that report, on services and/or resignations?
Just a previous conversation to gather up the information for clarity on that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, next is our consent agenda. Are there any items that the board members would like to be moved off the consent agenda and moved over to new business? Hearing none, I'd like to get a motion to approve items B2A to B2B as a consent agenda.
I
Make a
move,
motion that we approve to find the agenda, B2A and B2B, and consider it as consent agenda.
Do we have support? Any board discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, Jamie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Myers.
yes.
Mr. Sabadini.
Yes.
Mrs. Tarasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the consent agenda is approved 7-0. Do we have any new hires here
We
today?
do. So we have a lot of beautiful faces out there tonight, our new ones. So our new hires, what you get to do is come to the microphone, introduce yourself, share who you have with you tonight. That's part of the embarrassing side. And then you get to also tell us what building you're teaching in, any other information, like if you're just a graduate, if you came in from somewhere else. And so first one up, let's see who wants to do that. Come on up. You can just line right up, and then when you're done, you gotta come up and see all of us.
My name is Jessica Breton. I am here by myself. I left all the family at home. And I'm going into year 6 teaching, late for life to go finish my degree. So, but I am very, very excited about the new 5-6 building. So very excited. I went to Cantrick. Can't wait to start.
All right, well, welcome.
you.
So
Thank you.
And if you're wondering too, see this camera right there? Make sure you smile because we are live.
My name is Riley Hogan. I will be at the high school teaching English. I am coming back to teaching after about a 2-year hiatus, so this will be technically my year 3 of teaching experience. I'm not from Michigan originally. I grew up in Alabama. I'm here with my wife, Lauren. She's originally from Woodhaven. That's where we live right now. But I'm looking very much forward to this experience, and I'm happy to have the opportunity. So thank you.
Small world, huh?
All right. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. All right. Who wants to be next?
My name's Amy Grummel. I am a first-year teacher. I just graduated from Eastern. I'll be at the 5-6 building teaching 6th grade. I'm here with my mom. I'm just really excited for the year.
Hi, my name's McKenna Wilkie. I will be a first year at Custard Elementary. I'll be at 2nd grade, and I graduated from Toledo, and I am a Monroe County resident, and I'm super excited.
Keep on coming.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Ochens, and I'm new-ish. I have 16 years in Monroe Public Schools, and after a 6-year hiatus, I am back because I missed kids and I missed teacher camaraderie. There's nothing like it, so I'm happy to be back, and go Trojans. Career Explorations Middle School.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace Morin. I just graduated from Central Michigan University, so I'll be a first-year teacher. I'm here with my mom, my boyfriend, and my best friend. They all came. And I'm going to be a kindergarten teacher at Custer Elementary, so I'm super excited.
All right. Congratulations. All right. Well, a big congratulations to all of our new hires, all of our young. It appears that the MAC is well represented, which will be entertaining this fall there. Again, we're excited to have you. It's going to be an exciting year at Monroe Public Schools, and having you aboard this early is exceptionally pleasing. It takes down a lot of stress. And so you're more welcome to stay for the rest of our board meeting, or you can just quietly slip out that door. So have a beautiful night. Already got it.
Yeah, she already got it. Yeah.
Already. We had a hot minute.
That was a good
Give
job.
them a minute. Empty out. Okay, before we move into new business, just want to provide some background and context on our agenda items. All the items on our new business agenda have either been discussed in depth at a prior work session or have been addressed in our weekly board briefs. We will move through these fairly quickly, but they've all been discussed in depth in one of those venues. Just so you're aware, everyone is certainly welcome to attend our work sessions, which are, the agenda and that schedule is published on our website. Now I'll turn it over to Superintendent Shaw for the adoption of the final amended 2024-2025 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Heck. All right, so tonight, we are asking the Board of Education move to adopt the final amended 24-25 budgets for general fund, food service, student school activity, 2020 bond debt, building and site sinking, building and site, and the 2023 bond capital projects funds as presented.
Superintendent Shaw, do I have a motion regarding the 2024-2025 budget?
I move to adopt the final amended 2024-2025 budget for the general fund, food service, student activities, 2020 bond debt, building, site sinking, building and site, 2020 and 2033 bond capital projects as presented.
Do we have support?
Support.
Any board discussion on the budget?
I will have to say, we did discuss this in depth.
Yeah, we did earlier at the work session today.
Right.
Hearing no more discussion, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Sabatini,
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0.
So it is that time of year where we're finishing one budget, and we're opening up a new one. So, we are recommending to the board to move to adopt 25-26 proposed budgets for general fund, food service, school, student school activity, 2020 bond debt, building and site sinking, building and site, and the 2023 bond capital projects funds as presented. Furthermore, the board has determined that the millage rates be established at 18 mills non-homestead and 6 mills commercial personal property for operating purposes. An additional 1 mill be levied for building and site sinking fund and on all property as approved by the referendum in 2023, and 1.5 mils that be levied for the 2020 bond debt fund on all property as approved by the voters May 5th, 2020.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Do we have a motion regarding the 2025-2026 proposed budget?
I move to adopt the 2025-26 proposed budget for the general food service, school, student school activity, 2020 bond debt, building and site sinking, building and site, and 2020-2023 bond capital projects funds as presented, as well as the board has determined that the millage rates be established at 18 mills non-homestead and 6 mills commercial property or personal property for operating purposes. An additional 1 mill be levied for building and site sinking fund on all property as approved by the referendum in 2023, and 1.5 mills be levied for 2020 bond debt fund on all property as approved by the voters on May 5th, 2020.
Do we have support?
Support.
Any discussion by the board?
Only because of the language and the way it's written. The 18 mills, the 6 mills, and the 1 mills have already been approved. We're just supporting the continuation of those. We're not instilling those new.
Correct, these are not any
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
This is all stuff that's
Okay,
already
just the
been-
way it was worded. I wanted to clarify that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Any further board discussion? Hearing none, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sabatini,
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0.
All right, our next item is a food service equipment purchase. It is a recommendation that the Board of Education approve the purchase of food service equipment, including freight and setup and place delivery from Stafford Smith Incorporated of Madison Heights, Michigan, at a cost not to exceed $201,857. This purchase will be funded through the Food Service Fund.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Do we have a motion?
Move. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You go for it. Go, Stacy. Go.
I move to approve the food service equipment purchase as proposed.
Do we have support?
Support.
Board discussion.
So I'm really grateful that we're looking at a Madison Heights, Michigan supplier for this purchase. That makes me very happy. And I also just want to share information that this is part of our spend down of the food service fund, as we do typically this part of the year when we realize that we have a fund balance.
Yeah, as required by the state.
Yep.
Thank you, Mary.
Is this replacing old equipment?
So, it was in board briefs, it will be replacing some old equipment, and I know that in reading it goes to a bunch of the different buildings. So it would be replacing of some old equipment too.
Replacing of some of it. Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sabatini.
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0.
So our next item is district property liability insurance. It is a recommendation administration. The board moved to approve the recommendation to accept the proposal for the district property liability insurance from Hanover Insurance, with the Capnick Insurance being the broker, effective July 1, 2025. As we said in our in the meeting, that this is a 2-year rate guarantee. And also for full disclosure, we've used Capnick in the past for our healthcare in our school district, and at one point in time, I did work for Capnick.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Do I have a motion regarding the liability insurance?
I will move to approve the recommendation to accept the proposal for the district property liability insurance from the Hanover Insurance Group effective July 1st, 2025.
Do we have support?
Support.
Discussion, any board questions or discussion?
Yeah, I've got some about this. This was dropped on us very, very quickly, okay? And the way I was viewing this, because I really accept what Cassie and Cindy were saying, that it might be time to move on. And we had 2 guys show up, and this is a $5,000 increase for what they want. And they're using the premise that, well, there's no increase in the second year. Well, that's not true. That second year increase has already been included in the first year. That's just a fact. That's business sense. Okay? And I guess what they're asking us is to give them $29,000 to be our advocate, when I don't see where we need an advocate. That's what we got our attorneys for. So my position on this is, I'm not against it, but I would like, because this is due in 2 weeks, I think. I would like to table this and go with SegSet one more year, and next spring come back and solicit our own bids from some of these companies. I mean, golly Moses, you know, we got an insurance expert sitting right here on the board. I would rather, if it's legal, pay Mary or Carrie's company to be our advocate to find insurance, as opposed to somebody from out of town. I mean, $29,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
Do you want me to address it?
I appreciate your trust in my expertise, but that would be a conflict of interest.
I-
and I wouldn't
Carrie, I
accept
understand
that
that.
type of business.
but
want me to
I'm trying to
address
make the point that I would
we both can, so.
like to come back to this next spring and look into this ourselves, as opposed to giving $30,000 away to some 2 guys that just showed up out of the blue.
Can I ask, because I wasn't part of that, so
Right.
it'll help me make a decision. So you said a variety of proposals. So do we get down to the incumbent and Capnick, and we looked at other people, or?
So what we did is, when we met with Capnick and put it out to, with them to go to the market and find us insurance, property and liability insurance.
Sure.
And so they went through the process, and when it came down to it, Hanover was the only insurance company that put out numbers through the process.
Okay.
And so there was no other companies at that time. SetSeg is, we were watching SetSeg. We've watched their rates move. Remember that SetSeg is an insurance company, so they don't go to the market. So they're only gonna, they are themselves. When it comes to any other brokerage firm, because you have to use a brokerage firm to go through that process, is there's standard rates that all brokers will get. And so those are already pre-established. And
But
so.
you can just choose an insurance company, but if you want to negotiate deals, you need a broker. But if you just want to choose an insurance company, you can do that too, though.
Right, we could.
Yeah.
to
That's what
go-
SETSEG is.
Right,
An
it's
insurance
that seg, so it's a pool. So to go to go out and say, okay, we want to solicit quotes for our liability insurance, then you're taking on risk because when it comes down to it, we can try and save a lot of money there, but when it's all about what do they bring to the table. And so SETSEG will also come in, and that's what you want these companies to do. SETSEG makes money. I mean, they're not losing money. They pay for people to do this work.
Sure.
And so we just wanted to evaluate it. We looked at those options and really about the idea of how do we get to the market greater. And it's more than just, so in a year or two, instead of just being Hanover, there could be 2 or 3 other companies that's actually, insurance companies that's actually quoting for us rather than just Hanover. And so it's all about those are willing to take a risk at this time. So.
The other part of that is, I just want to clarify, tabling a motion, it just means it's going to hold to the end of the meeting or hold to the next meeting. If what you're suggesting, I'm just letting you know, would be a postponement, you can do an indefinite postponement, or you can do a postponement for a specific period of time, which could be 1 year from now. So those are your options, just so you can think about what you may or may not want to do. There's a motion on the table, so it'd have to be postponed at this point.
Yeah, I just realized the time constraints we're under, and our budget, we already discussed that money's tight. And for me, it's like, why am I giving these 2 guys $30,000? I could stay with Seth and save 30 grand, and come back and think about it again.
No.
Or I stand corrected, 5,000. It was 5,000. To save $5,000 and then come back next year and reevaluate the situation when we know how much better shape we're in. I mean, $5,000 is a lot of money.
It is, and so the rationale too behind the recommendation had to do with just the ability to know that, yes, in this year it's 5,000, and so it's that number has been, the amount each year is set. The variables that we don't know is what would SETSEG be next year. It could be 5,000 more, so the 2 years as a whole would be a wash. It was all about the idea of how to get to the market so that we can keep that $300,000 cost for liability at roughly 300,000 and not keep it, see why it should go up. And so the way to do it is going through a brokerage firm to help get there. Otherwise, SETSEG, for all intents and purposes, we've been with SETSEG. Schools have been with SETSEG for years. And so it's just about how to try to get to a spot where we can keep that part of our cost.
Do we feel that SETSEG in any way has not done a good job, or?
No, it's not anything about a good job. It's about just how do you get to the market so you can actually get to more quotes out there to hopefully keep that cost as low as possible.
There wasn't much change for this
at
particular,
this
at this
particular
particular
time.
time, there's not a big change.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the same exact similar approach that when we talked about our medical insurance for our staff, is that by staying with Mesa, you could never get to looking at any kind of bigger options. And so by making that step, we're still with Blue Cross Blue Shield, but then it allows a lot of other doors to open up and look at options that can control that cost. But as long as we stayed with a Mesa, we can never get there. Same thing goes with our liability insurance at this time. If we stayed with SETSEG, then we'll not get to a spot where we can take and dive into the markets and try and keep that cost controlled.
It's only a 1-year contract, correct?
Yes.
It can, well, it's a
2-year.
But every year though, so on the liability insurance, just so you know, you can always look next year in May and go, okay, we want to look at someone else.
Because you would need a 30-day notice or 60.
You don't even need any notice because
Okay.
liability, it starts always July 1, so you don't break it up there and you just come back, okay, we're gonna, next year, SETSEG may come back to this and this is our numbers for you, okay, and then you can take that at that time and say, we make that change. So liability insurance is a lot different. You have a short window though, and that's what that's part of the challenge. Is there is a short window that it's open to where you can do it, so you have to move quickly.
It's a future value more than a
Yes.
current value.
Yeah, in my experience with insurance, it never goes down. So if we wait next year Setsag probably is gonna be higher, but then also Capnick, if they go to Hanover, that's probably gonna be higher as well. And what that is, how much higher, is kind of a risk.
Well, that's why they negotiated a 2-year contract at the minimum rate. And you're right, they divided the money out to make it look that way. We understand that. But it does keep our rates from advancing at any kind of market rate that we can't expect right now. Like, we don't know what economically what it's going to be like next year, and rates could increase 10%. And, you know, we don't have to deal with that. So that's the other thing we're buying, is that stability for 2 years.
And I think.
Correct, Andy?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly.
I think Capnick provides services in addition to the
Yep.
Hanover contract.
They do. They're similar to like Setsag. So they'll come in, new walks, they'll come in and control, help you to understand how to control your risk. So you're not going to have, for example, the slip and falls to anything else that's risk related. And that's part of how they've built in. So when we think about what their services are, so what you're gonna get for that 30,000 is not just, you know, these two people, it's their services coming in and working alongside our district too, to try and, their goal is to keep us at or below 300,000. I mean, that's what they want to do.
Does Setsag do that currently?
So Setsag comes in annually and does a walk with us and will tell us kind of things that we need to work on or do. But as far as coming in and doing any formal trainings or being really on site, we don't, that's not happening.
That's a big change, working with a company that's coming in and giving recommendations, and companies that are coming in and having expectations, because expectations unmet can skyrocket insurance costs like considerably.
One thing might help you. So we have,
That's just true.
yep. So we have our school district-wide safety team meetings, okay? And so we meet monthly, and so we've expressed this to the Capnick team, like, hey, we do this right here because it's all about controlling of risk. And so it's a unique process. So now they get to take and go in the future going, this is what Monroe does from a safety side. And so that's part of that application of trying to get these groups to bring down those costs for us.
I wasn't aware that was the part of it, was that, because that is a very, very big deal. Because if they come in and they do a risk assessment and says you have to spend $500,000 in order to, you know, mitigate your risks, and if you fail to do so, and then there's a problem. So that's typically how it works with those risk assessments. So I don't know how
They're
theirs
not-
is.
They're coming in to guide us through practice. So for example, how many of you have ever seen when our maintenance guys get out of the truck and they put the orange cone out there, right? That's something that they help you do. They'll take a look at, okay, we don't have sensors here for water. Let's get you sensors. What other things can we do to mitigate those risks so that you don't see bigger claims? And
Ching, ching, ching.
yeah, some stuff could be, some stuff, like they even said, that like Hanover will give out all of the water sensors, so you don't have to worry about that. So,
Did they include that as part of their presentation on that risk factor? I don't recall having this conversation, the conversation about the risk assessment and the expectations. I just didn't remember that part.
It's not a risk assessment, it's coming in and working alongside you. At the end of the day, Setsag even does the same walks, but it's more, the question came down to is, what will, how often will we see their team here? It's as often as we want them here to help go, okay, we're struggling on changing a practice. And it could be as simple as like using the orange cone practice there. And so that's all they're trying to do, is help you mitigate any kind of claims that you could have. When it comes to, if we're doing something that's not practical, you know, like for example, we have a piece of concrete that's sticking up that high and we're doing nothing about it, and like, you need to do something about that. Well, and then someone trips and gets hurt. Now they're like, hey, we did tell you, you needed to do that. But at the end of the day, we own the choice if we fix something or not.
That's pretty significant in my regard, and Tom and I are looking at the paperwork that they presented, and that's not been discussed in here, and that is a significant change from what we were doing compared to what we are now. Anybody that understands insurance understands the difference of those two, and the
They're not gonna, so I think if are you asking the question, they're gonna come in here and tell us what we have to do?
I'm just going by what you're saying and my
No.
understanding of what you're saying.
No.
You
I
said
mean-
they come in, do risk assessment, and they tell you,
No,
you
no, no.
have to get sensors, you need to get this.
No, No. They, so
it's
in
just
their
recommendations.
recommendations, and in their presentation, they said, for example, Hanover is going to, if you don't have water sensors, they're going to give water sensors. What they're talking about though is, yeah, could there be something that's a cost? SETSEG does the same thing. I mean, they've come through and they go, you got to get that classroom cleaned out because there's too much paper in it. And so either you clean it out or you don't. And so what they're gonna help us do is, again, so both companies do a very similar thing. It's about how often you see the companies in the door helping you walk through what you should or should not be doing.
I just recently had an incident somewhere else, and it was related to an insurance company. The insurance company says you either do what we tell you to do, or this is gonna be the end result, and your costs are gonna go up. If this happens, we're only gonna cover that at 20%, we're only gonna cover this at 40%, if you don't do what we tell you to do. So I'm just asking, is that what we're working with? And that is
No.
different? That's what I'm just trying
No.
to understand.
No.
This is the first I've heard of
Yeah,
this.
no.
I'm just
So
trying to understand.
When you pose the question about what are we gonna get from this work with the Capnick, it's very much similar to what we currently have with SEG, them coming in and coming alongside of us. Now, if they could uncover something that's glaring that we didn't see, okay, and that's what insurance companies should do. But SEG does the exact same thing.
SETSEG does that. For instance, if we don't make certain modifications to the network, our deductible goes up extremely high. So like multi-factor, two-form multi-factor authentication, if we don't implement that, deductible goes to 250,000. I mean, there's a lot of things we do have to do through SETSEG as well.
Yeah, see, but this is the first time we had this conversation, so I'm just trying to understand what the difference is between the two and what is the inherent risk of either one.
So your risk on either one is, at the end of the day, come May next year, you have the privilege of changing. That's a unique difference right here when it comes to the liability insurance. We have to have liability insurance. We're trying to get our liability insurance, because it's something you have to have, for the least amount of money as possible. And if what we learn and don't like with one company, you go and look for a different one. And so, but I think if you're looking at what are the two distinct differences, SETSEG is the insurance company, Capnick's the broker that works with insurance companies, everyone out in the marketplace. That's your two distinct differences. But both companies have risk management people that come out and do that work.
Potentially, since they're a broker and they handle multiple insurance companies, with Hanover, we have a guarantee that next year is gonna be the same rate.
Correct.
But Capnick could,
And will.
look, and maybe another different insurance company will be lower,
Correct.
and they could
Correct.
switch us.
That's exactly it. And would bring back to you when we went out to the market and from all that you guys have done, and we have other companies that wanted to really take a close look at you.
Yeah.
And so, so they create the competitivism that we need.
You know, I'll withdraw my objection to all this, but.
You don't
I wa-
have to.
Well, no, I just wanted my perspective out there that, like I said, this was short notice. It's a lot of money. It's a big deal. And I never really had a chance to digest it,
Yeah.
you know.
So you always have the opportunity to make any kind of amendment, a postponement of any kind of motion that is on the table. So I'm speaking for you probably, but feel free to,
Yeah.
don't ever feel like anybody's stifling
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's your preference if you want to withdraw, or you haven't even made a motion.
Right.
so
Yeah.
As long as, if you don't make a motion, then we'll go to the vote.
Like I said, I'm gonna drop my objection, but I wanted that perspective out
Okay.
there.
No,
Okay.
fair enough. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And you can still vote yes or no.
Right.
Any further discussion or
anything.
questions? Hearing none, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sabatini.
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0.
All right, Orchard High School furniture purchase.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. President, we asked you to approve the purchase of new Orchard Center High School office furniture to furnish the newly remodeled office space at a cost not to exceed $28,540.90. Funding for this purchase would come from the secondary curriculum budget.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion regarding the Orchard Center office furniture?
I move to approve the purchase of the new Orchard Center High School office furniture to furnish the newly remodeled office space at a cost not to exceed $28,540.90. And then that funding would come from the secondary curriculum budget.
Do we have support?
Support.
Board discussion, questions?
I just have a couple of questions. So the furniture that was previously in those spaces, is there any of it that's salvageable? Is there any of it that is going to be like shifted to other spaces in the district?
Some of it is back in the warehouse now.
Okay.
Some has been saved to use. Mr. Drew's using it in other areas in the building. So not all of it got disregarded. Part of the problem with the new layout is their entrance. There's not going to be space for some of that, specifically in the open office areas. And also that furniture, it's due for an upgrade.
Yeah.
Big time.
Some
Mhm.
of it's, let's speak 4 hours.
Yeah.
Being kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I recall seeing 31 conference chairs? I didn't think the conference room would hold that many.
No, there shouldn't be.
Oh,
I know, Mr. Drew met with the company and we gave them all architectural plans so they could make sure it matched. But there should probably, let's say 8, 7.
yeah.
I can check on that.
Yeah, no, we can look it up right now.
Yeah, I think
It's in here.
the layout is there. It should show it.
Let's find it real quick.
Yeah.
Anybody know what page number it's on?
I see a whole bunch.
62, thank you.
162.
Oh, 162.
The highest quantity I see is 1s and 2s and 6s.
Oh,
There's not 31 of
it's
them.
item number.
Which
If you look at
item?
Page 164.
There is.
Yeah.
There are 10. Item
Yeah.
number 31 is 10 conference
Yeah.
chairs.
10
Now that will
chairs.
fit in the space. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, David. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. Jamie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sabatini.
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0.
All right, Terry, you're up for ELA curriculum adoption.
Awesome, great, thank you. Tonight, we asked the board to move to approve the adoption of HMH into reading ELA curriculum for grades K through 5.
Thank you, Terry. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the adoption of the HMH into reading ELA curriculum for grades K to 5.
Do we have support?
Support?
Board discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple questions just because I got dropped in as a parachute last night and Andrea did a great job with her presentation, but I did have a couple questions. If the grant wouldn't have been made available, were we looking for something to either replace Lucy Calkins or supplement it?
We were starting the process to find possibly another curriculum.
Okay, good. So the grant kind of helped us push us along.
The grant pushed the timeline along. Yeah.
Awesome. That's nice when that happens.
And
Supersonic,
just-
like.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to that, so we had started asking teachers for feedback and their thinking about our curriculum back, November, December. And every 10-ish years, we always do a complete curriculum review and revision and adoption of new materials. So we were due for that. And then also, we were given information that in January, the state is going to release lists of approved curriculum for ELA. So we were trying to get ahead of that a little bit. And then the state pressed the fast forward button and here we
we
are
go.
tonight.
And this one might be a little more of a loaded question, or you might have to get a crystal ball out, but do you have an expected return on what you expect to see in literacy rates 2 to 3 years out? I mean, I know we've been improving, but do you have any expectation for return? That's a tough one, I know.
It's a really hard.
Yeah.
I think what we'll see is we're strengthening teaching practices by going with more of a structured literacy approach. And so as a result of that, I believe we'll see our scores continue to rise.
Okay, good.
But as far as giving
Okay.
the exact number, that's really hard to.
Okay, good. Thank you for answering those questions.
Just some comments from your presentation, but also from personal review, because several of us board members did go to the presentations by the 3 potential sources. And I think every one of the board members who did go to those presentations came to the same conclusion as I believe it was 80% of your teachers who looked at it as well. So very high acceptance of HMH as the source.
So I asked the question last night. So we understand we don't know how much money we're getting from the state. And do we have a cost on the program itself? Because typically when you're going to approve a program, you have an idea of how much it's going to cost. Now, I know we don't know how much it's going to be our cost, but did they give us a cost of what the program is?
So we're currently negotiating with the company to arrive at a cost. They did give us a cost for like every single thing that you could possibly purchase. We won't be needing to purchase all of the things that they will be having in their packages. So we'll work with our rep to arrive at that number. And then as soon as we have that, we can let you know what that is.
What was their number they threw out for the whole thing? It'd be an annual, right? No.
No.
And that's
Fill
the
me
hard
in.
part right there is that the. so
But
you
just
have
what
a-
they
you have
give.
an initial cost and an annual, but then the number isn't even accurate because we have to make sure that with the number of sections and teachers, because they threw in just numbers, that we need to drill that down because otherwise it's going to be one that'll just freak you out. It's not even close to accurate.
Okay, so I guess don't freak me out, according to Andy. But the other side of that is, and I was thinking about this, and was that it seems like when we add stuff in, and I talked about what are we taking away? And you're like, no, we're not taking away You Fly. We're not taking away Lucy Hawkins. We're not, maybe eventually. David has already talked about where he's at with those kind of changes. But it seems like when I look at the apps and I look at the stuff that we're using, it's always an additional purchase service. There's always more and there's always more. And I always think there has to be a time where we have to say, okay, you can literally flood teachers with too much stuff. You can literally flood an employee with too much stuff. So is there a thought of what services and what programs we could do without to offset some of these costs?
So we will be presenting to you, in addition to documents around cost and those types of things, curriculum maps. So you will see the actual pacing of what is being taught in each of the grade levels. So that's part of our curriculum adoption process. Within that, the HMH into reading will be the tier 1 instruction for all students, kindergarten through 5th grade. If there are students who might need additional intervention support, when we've talked with you about UFly, and Andrea, I'm just speaking, I could see us moving UFly to a tier 2.
Which would be a separate person. So if if she's the classroom teacher, she's teaching that tier 1 curriculum. And if I'm the intervention teacher, I might just have UFly. So I don't have both of those things that I'm trying to juggle. It's the classroom teacher is the tier 1, and then we have our interventionists, our academic tutors that would be tackling that tier 2 piece.
I mean, I think you gave me a list one time of all the different stuff, and I used to have it stapled to the front of my folder, and somehow the staples have come out, and I don't know where it's at. But, when we look at the amount of them, it's at some point, we just can't keep adding and adding and adding and adding. And I understand there's programs that people say, oh, I like this one, I like this one, I like that one. But maybe is there a way you could look at streamlining some of this for offset costs? That's just my ask, and that's my suggestion.
There is. The only thing I would say is it is beneficial to have, especially when we're talking about a tier 2 in intervention, it's beneficial to have more than one program because students respond differently to different programs.
I think we have a lot more than that.
Not really.
Not really.
I know when I open my iPad and I look at the amount of apps on there, I'm always like, I don't even know what all this is. So maybe there's a difference of thought.
Yeah, we'd have to, I think it'd be a bigger conversation of going through what we have.
That's my request.
I would say.
So can I just interject real quick? So I think I think I remember the paper that we were given that provides like all of the different instructional strategies and things. Some of those strategies use multiple multiple things, right? Like some of those things could be the leveled readers that are in like the classroom libraries, but those activities could also be done within the actual curriculum. So I feel like not everything was an actual curriculum. Some of those things were just like methodologies, were how we get to somewhere, how we get to a certain endpoint, a strategy, if you will. So I feel like if I'm remembering, it's like it's different boxes, and then it had bullet pointed lists, right? The page.
Yeah, that
you're
was
thinking?
one, and then she had
Yes.
another one that was literally just a list. And the list is what but I know which one you're
Yes.
talking about.
So the one that
I probably
I'm-
have it in
the
my
one
notes
that-
somewhere.
The one that I'm picturing in my mind, it wasn't necessarily curricula listed out. It was methodology, strategies, and different ways that we support students through different types of assessment, through different types of curriculum, and through different types of resources that we have on hand. Both physical resources like books and things, but also like people resources, like interventionists, through our ELL teachers, things like that.
So Darla, I do agree with you in that we have to be very thoughtful that we don't overwhelm our teachers with a lot of
Because
stuff.
there's a lot of new teachers.
Correct. So our intent would be, like I said, that the HMH into reading, that would be the tier 1 curriculum, the expected curriculum that teachers in K-5 would use. And we will be sharing with you the curriculum maps that will map all of that out, so you can see all of the resources and everything that is used. And we can also commit to providing you with a list of the materials that are used at tier 1 and then tier 2.
Really what I'm looking for is the cost. If it's something like Mary mentioned, that it's a staff or it's an intervention or I don't, whatever, the stuff that she explained, sorry,
Mhm.
Mary. I'm just looking for the cost stuff. What are the things that have a cost associated with them? Because we just can't keep adding in and adding in and adding in. So that's my request. Can you look at the things that have a cost to it? And when you bring this to the table, bring those along with it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can you remind me on implementation? So I'm assuming this is going to take a fair amount of professional development to get teachers up to speed on using this curriculum.
Yes.
What does that look like?
We would not expect teachers to begin teaching this in September of this coming school year. We won't even have our materials or budget. So we would spend time, like Terry mentioned, with professional development, developing curriculum maps, being trained from reps, from trainers from
Right.
that company coming in. We will probably have some folks that choose to be early implementers
Right.
that then are coached alongside of both our school improvement coaches and the company coaches, and then become leaders and within their buildings and within the district. And by September of the following year, 26,
Okay.
we would have full implementation.
That makes sense. And then one other question, you're not in the legislature, so you probably don't really know the answer to this, but with a grant, does this money go one time? We don't know if it goes one time. Does it get a second round?
We are awarded the funds.
Yep.
And those funds will write the grant in to spend. The funds are good for, I believe it's a year-long cycle, but you can, in your quote, they will include it also that even if that quote is like a 3-year quote, we'll be able to use the grant funds to cover that entire cost.
Okay.
But it won't be like you get one part of it in September and then another part in this part of the year. It's a one-time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I got one more question. Are we physically and contractually gonna be cutting strings with Lucy Calkins? And do we owe her any more money? Can anybody answer that?
I asked that question the other day.
I believe the answer is no.
No.
I mean, that was before, obviously, before my time.
It's due
on
in
the board.
September. She's an annual. And I just sort of looked at the notes the other day because I asked the same question. And the last payment to her was in September, around September of last year. We got the decodable text in September, but the approval of the year-long, I know because I know what my comments were to it. And remember that? Yeah.
I do.
So it was probably July or August, so my assumption is that's coming up again.
Are you referring to the professional development?
That's what we paid in September.
Yeah, so we would not be utilizing.
So we
that
don't
for
owe
the
any money
upcoming
at
school
all
year.
for that program to continue for the next year?
For 25, 26, no.
Okay, that was my question, Terry. Are we free and clear of Lucy Calkins so we can move on to HMH? So that's what I was getting at.
Correct.
Only financially. is
Financially,
what-
that's all.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
you're saying, right, Andy?
It's only an annual contract, if I'm
I
correct.
thought it was.
So I think you're interpreting, and Terry, hop on here, okay,
Okay.
fix me really quick, is interpreting two different things. One is, we purchased materials from Calkins a few years ago, okay? One-time purchase. And then we did is staff development, okay? But that's all we pay for. We don't pay for an annual subscription for Calkins.
Correct.
I was just thinking that because
So-
that professional development was like
But the- But the
$400,000
professional development wasn't
last year.
on Lucy Calkins, the forms of teaching, of writing. It was more staff development of how to be stronger teachers.
Oh.
And that's what we spent a lot of time, and that's why you've seen a lot of change that's occurred in our district, is it's not just, they didn't come in and teach, okay, this is how you teach our materials. It's a form of it, but the vast majority of the time it's about how to be a stronger teacher.
Oh.
Okay.
Did I catch that one
Maybe I
correctly?
misunderstood.
Yeah, so it
that.
was professional development that focused on supporting teachers in their knowledge and understanding of teaching students how to read and write. So we talked a lot about small group instruction, being able to use data to create groups of students, to have a focused area with an intentional learning target, and then seeing that through until they master that skill. So the professional development that was provided, that didn't just focus on how to use Lucy Calkins materials, it focused on helping teachers to become better teachers.
So what do we anticipate the cost for all the new teachers coming in? I'm assuming they're going to need the same type of instruction and professional development. Is that something you're anticipating?
No, because right now, to take our new teachers, okay to speak on this one?
Go ahead.
Okay. I try not to get it wrong here, but we've been teaming up on, it's all fresh in my brain, so I can do this one right now. Is that our new teachers coming in, it would be extremely hard for them to go and teach them, okay, here's how you have to use the cognitive, doing trainings, knowing we're going to bring in a new system and have a new system here. So they could be part of the early adopters group, or they could be other things, so.
No, I didn't mean the Calkins, because she said the professional development wasn't just based on Lucy
Oh,
Calkins, it was
right.
based on teaching them.
Yep.
That part of it was what I
Oh.
was talking about.
With our new teachers coming in, we have really strong coaches within the building, strong teacher leaders within the building. That's where we can tap into our own resources now to spread that professional development to them without having to bring in someone from the outside for that
Okay.
part of it.
All right.
Right, staff, yeah.
You got it right.
There's no
She
staff
just
developers coming in.
Added
correct.
on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? If not, Jamie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sabatini.
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0.
All right, so, all right, K-12 cell phone. So I'm going to throw it up on the screen. Please work. I had this up. Stop sharing. Come on.
Just laughing at you.
It honestly is, I had it working. I'm apologizing here. Let me just do this. Oh, good, finally. There we go, just a little more patience. Okay, so to our board members, this is in your hands. So to everyone, one of our goals this spring was to really unlock our cell phone policy and actually revise it further. So Monroe Public Schools, beginning this fall, all students, kindergarten through fourth grade, no cell phones. If you need a cell phone due to a medical reason, you work with your administrator, the parents will, with a 504 to make that happen. Sorry about that, fifth grade up, when you walk through the doorway, okay, we call it crossing the threshold, your phone is off and it is put away. Each building will have a location for where the phone goes, okay? And because each building is a little differently designed. And so they'll go, like, for example, at the 5-6 building, they have a homeroom at the beginning of the day, they'll go to their homeroom, the phones get put away there. Again, they're turned off. At the end, and so they're off and away the whole day. And then at the end of the day, they can have their phones. Down below, we've addressed the violation. So if your phone, first violation, phone is stored, it's just, it's not off. It goes to the office and we communicate to your parents. The second time it's stored, it stays in the office. Parent comes and gets it. And then if we get to a long time spot where they just cannot, they're struggling with it, it's just permanently stored in the office. So, I'll give you an example. Gary's struggling with that side of it. So Gary, you've lost that. You hit that third violation. Your phone is just, you bring your phone in every day, goes to the office, and that's where it's stored. And at the end of the day, you pick it up and you leave. And so at any point, though, for kindergarten or for the Wi-Fi through 12th grade student, if there's a reason, a medical reason, or that they are to have their cell phone, that's a workable item right there with the family, with the parents, and with the administrator. But they're still under the rules of an electronic device. And so this is not only, talking about watches also, is that if you need your phone due to a particular reason, you can only use it for that particular reason. If it's discovered you're using for other reasons, now you're into the violation, and then discipline would occur from there. We're asking that all staff also, though, follow the same steps, so that their phones are off and away. They do have breaks. They have other opportunities where they can have their phone out. We know that the biggest thing that for a staff member to do, though, is to disclose. So if I know that I have a sick child at home and they're by themselves, I would just tell my class, listen, my phone is staying out. If I get a call and or a text message from my daughter, that's why I'm picking up. Otherwise, my phone is flipped down and it's off the whole time. And so that becomes the expectation in our buildings. And so what we're going to be doing is communicating this out after this point to families throughout the month of July and in August and right along. There's going to be a lot of grace provided to our kids and families at the beginning of the school year, because it's a big shift. But we believe deeply in our hearts that we want to hear our kids in the hallways and being told, hey, you need to quiet down because class is in session, rather than you can hear a pin drop as 5 kids are walking down the hall and their faces are in their phones. And so we want to see that shift. And we want to see kids back to be engaged. We know that the opportunities for them academically, we could see a shift on their academics. I'm not going to say or guarantee anything, but there's the data is out there for that. The bigger part too is over this next few years to come is continually educating parents about putting an electronic device in the hands of kids that is unsupervised, especially when it comes to the World Wide Web and what that does. So we've read many of us have read the book The Anxious Generation, and it gets really clear in there about what some of the outcomes are at the younger ages, and we see those results. And so know that we're going to come alongside of our parents and help coach them up and talk them through this. But know that our parents have the ability to communicate with their kids through email, have the ability to call the offices. Students have the ability to go to the office and make a phone call, and have the ability to email their parents. So that opportunity to still communicate with each other throughout the day can be afforded, so that connection is still there. So we, from our last presentation, you guys had shared, hey, we need to adjust our violation stuff. So we did that, and we believe we have this in a space now that makes sense, and it's doable. The last part was too is that this also is part of our bus. It goes with our buses. In fact, our bus drivers are going to be encouraging the kids. Listen, you already know that your phones have to be off when you walk through that door. Turn them off. At the high school levels, they're going to be encouraging the kids. Listen, you have a car. Leave your phone in the car. That little bit of a walk in and out of the building isn't that big of a stretch. And so, so that's what we're looking at doing.
I have a couple questions. I'm looking in the past notes because I don't remember the whole bus conversation that they couldn't be on the phone in the bus.
Oh, no, we didn't say that. We said that the bus is a part of it where you may, I won't use an example.
It's okay.
This time, okay?
I'm used
So
to getting
Carrie
beat
is
up.
on our bus, and Carrie's having problems with her phone and doing things she shouldn't be doing with the phone. Could be social media. So she could lose that privilege. And if that happens, then what will happen is the phone will go into one of those cases, And so it's, when she gets on the bus, her driver say, oh, Carrie, you know, you got 2 more days with this case. So it goes in the case, and Carrie's a 5th grader. And so Carrie, that case goes into into your office, and then you get it back. But the idea is that the bus also is a factor in student behaviors that we have to deal with. So we want to make sure that we address that, but we don't want to stop kids from being able to use their phones on the buses.
Okay, so that's only if you're in one of these boxes.
Only if
Then it would follow through. Other than that, when you get on the school
Kid
bus,
gets
because
on
some kids are on the bus over an
student
hour.
walks out of the building and they're on their phone. If their behavior is great until they get home, awesome. And they're on their phones.
Right.
And
So the other thing is, I remember we talked about what to do with the phones, and we talked about them being able to put them away themselves, like lock their own lockers,
Yep.
not a classroom locker.
Like at the high
So
school,
the way
though-
it's worded now,
Yep.
it sounds like it's a classroom
No,
locker.
each building is going to be, as I said at the beginning, each building is different based on their space and how they operate. Monroe High School, their first blush at what they want to do is use the lockers. Okay. Now, another building might say, you know, I don't want to we're not going to use the lockers. We're going to have a lockable box in the classroom, or we're going to have this. So each building, because each building space is different, we don't want to say, okay, this is what's going to happen in each and every single building, because we also believe this too, is that we have an idea of how it can work, but until you put it to practice and see, we're anticipating some other shifts. Our biggest thing that we have everyone to understand is that the moment you walk through the door, your phone is off. You'll know where your phone needs to go. The only thing that will not happen is your phone will not stay on your possession during the day, because if it's in your backpack or in your coat or something like that, you're still thinking about getting to your phone. You're still thinking about doing that stuff.
As long as they're not losing their personal property unless they do a violation. So if they never have their phone out and it's in their locker or in their backpack and they never have their phone out, that would be a non-issue. Now, if they have their phone out, they get into the first violation, it would be an issue.
Right.
I don't think we should confiscate personal property unless someone had a violation and
Well, that's
failed to follow it.
Right, and that's exactly
Okay.
it. But if the high school, for example, says the lockers are where your phone needs to be, and your phone is anywhere but the locker, then you're in a violation. Okay, so because we'll have kids that say, all right, I'm gonna not put my phone in my locker, I'm gonna have it in my backpack. Well, then obviously it's not in the locker, it's in the backpack, and so, but honestly, Darla, I think that's what we're gonna be dealing with the first 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Well, that's why I'm trying to say, have we thought about all of these mitigating factors?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I could see someone saying, hey, as long as I'm not on my phone, it wouldn't even matter if it's in my pocket. If I never get it out during the day, it can stay on my person. So someone would have to explain to me why someone
Because-
couldn't keep it in a backpack and they had to lock it in a locker if they didn't violate anything.
So
That makes
when
sense?
So when, in Reading the Anxious Generation, if I have my backpack is with me all day long, and I know I'm not allowed to get to my phone, but I know my phone is right there, and one day I don't turn it off, so I sneak in there, I turn it off quick, or something like that. That book really describes the idea of making it so that it's not near the child, okay, is the best way for full engagement. And so that's the purpose behind it. And so we just want to make sure that, like I said, we're not sure how it's going to work perfectly, because each building's going to have to work with it, and then going to find, okay, this works well, or this doesn't work well, I need to make this adjustment right here. The only thing we do know for a fact was that the pouches are not the option. They're not the they're not the thing, because they don't, one is you can still, kids, if they don't turn off the phone, they can still hear it. 2, it's still staying in their possession, and so then you get into destruction, you get into costs. So we said, okay, we already have the policy, now let's just figure out how to implement it so it works in each building. So each one will be a little different. But back to one of the things we did talk about, though, is if a parent or a student does have a need, then you just work with the building administrator on that need.
The other thing we talked about is video access, that if something happened in a hallway, there's been no video in a classroom,
Yep.
something happened in a hallway or something like that, would a parent have access to be able to see that if their child was involved in it? Because right now, what do? All the kids get out their cell phone and they record everything. So my question is to those parents, like,
So
that-
all of our buildings have cameras in the hallways, and so if something
all common
happens-
areas.
Yes. And so if something occurs, what we're required to do is then blot out all the other students, so that
Yeah.
that's not seen like we.
Just as long as that is an open door and they understand that, because there's a comfort there of knowing, hey, if something goes on, even though someone's not sitting there recording it, I can see the footage of the incident myself without any restraint.
Can I ask a question about, what do we get feedback from teachers regarding having to police this policy? Because to me, it sounds like there's a fair amount of policing that has to be done. And if I'm a teacher, do I really want to I don't really want to be in the police business.
There's a lot of them already doing this as a classroom protocol. So
Okay.
students come into the classroom, they might have pouches or something on their door or a cabinet, and students, there's kids at band camp all week this week. Phones are collected at the beginning of the day. They don't get them until 3:00. I'm not even sure that they have them at lunchtime. But it is a way of engaging the students fully with one another.
But David has a really good answer to this, because this was an area we talked about. So let's hear David's answer.
David.
Right, so teachers will not need to fight this battle. They ask the student to put the phone in the locker. Again, it's about training students the first few days, weeks, months of school. If the student isn't willing, it's a call to the administrator. Teachers need to teach and not be engaged with this power struggle with kids.
And actually, today, the teachers are involved in it because when we have a discipline hearing, we see cell phone violations as one of those top items of somebody who's in for a discipline hearing. So they're already doing it.
Yep. So the big part is, and this is why we want to talk, with the buses first, is that the bus drivers are the first ones to remind kids, okay? And then administrators will be at the doors or even on the sidewalk. Remember, reminder, as you're walking through, let's just see those phones up, powering them down. And so there's going to be a lot of training at the beginning of the year. Our job now is in July and August right here is just to push out communications on the why we're doing this and how this is going to work. And so parents can start talking to their kids and helping them understand. And we know we're going to have power struggles. But one of the things we saw in a training that was just held last week is when a child's in a power struggle, like over the phone, is to understand why the power struggle is there. And so I'll give you an example. Like for some kids, they paid for it. And so they don't want to give it up. So we can work alongside of them. And that's where our principals are phenomenal here. They're going to be like, all right, we understand that. So let's do this. Your phone comes to my office. And we got a spot where there's a lockable case and you lock it in there, you take the key yourself and off you go. And so, but you got to get down to that level. But you can see on here that the worst that's going to happen is your phone is just checked into the office each day. Unless you become belligerent or do other things to escalate it. But in those first few weeks, we're going to work through the escalations because we're going to have some. And we're going to figure out why we're having escalations there.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes, ma'am.
So when it comes to sharing this information with parents, guardians, the people that are going to be taking care of our students, do we have a plan for like what that rollout is, like the timing of that, and then like the methods that we're going to be sharing that information and like how it's going to be spread out into the community?
Yep. So the first one is we have a communication ready for our staff.
Okay.
To go to them. And then after that, we're going to be through a video that we can review, email. That's what we're going to start doing. So we're going to start just putting out almost like PSAs on this and helping them to understand what is happening and the expectation for the fall. And so lots of communications, basically almost weekly on this, bi-weekly. We do get yelled at, and I shouldn't say yelled at, told we send out too much communications to our parents. And so what you would anticipate as being a parent is most likely a video will be sent out, just introducing what's going to be, and then we're going to start talking about the whys. So that's how we're going to really publicize it.
Is there any way that we could also have this, or whenever this is like finalized, put up on the website with like blurbs of your student's bus driver might sound like this. Your student's administrator might sound like this. Your student's teacher might sound like this. Your student's custodian might sound like this. So that parents, guardians, families can start understanding like what those different types of interactions might look like, feel like, sound like
Yep.
throughout this rollout and also like throughout the experience, right? Because I'm sure an assumption is going to be teachers are going to have to take care of all of this. Teachers are going to have to be the enforcers. And that's not necessarily like how this will feel.
Yep.
And it's also not how it's going to be handled. So I feel like you obviously don't have to go into like tons of paragraphs, but just to kind of, like you said, your bus driver is going to be giving you that reminder of like, hey, you're getting off the bus, time to turn it off.
Yep.
Go put it in its spot.
I think it's actually a little higher than that. It's all about the compassion that has to be in the voice and empathy in the voice as we have our staff members always talking with our kids on this. This is going to be a big shift. And so what does that look like? You know, for example, the lines I would encourage my bus driver to say is, listen, I love you guys on my bus. I want to see you on my bus every day. And so because of that, please turn off your cell phone so that doesn't become a problem when you walk through that door. And so that's the kind of stuff that we'll do there. Same thing goes when you're coming into the building. And so we're going to ask for a lot of compassion have from our staff on this. But then we will have situations where a kid, a child, may become belligerent or some over that. And like, oh, off to the office you go. But that's why over these, you got to take that first month and find out the why though. And so,
Well, the why would be the phones became their world when the world shut down on them.
Yep. But
The
you
schools shut down on
start
them.
walking it out slowly with them, and that's what we need to do. So it's part of it. It's kind of like at some point in time they're going to go into a job after high school, and some jobs will allow you to keep your phone on, and some jobs won't.
Have you thought about the staff response? I think it might be difficult for staff as well, don't you?
So that's it will be hard on staff because they're
Because I'm
always they've been
imagining
used to it.
teachers probably, I don't know, people use their phone during the day. I
Well,
think. I don't know. Could be wrong.
there's a lot of other tech that is available for it's needed there. I think it's like this: if you're needing to use your phone for something that's class related, disclose. That's the biggest thing. Otherwise, because as teachers, administrators, we have to be role models. So it's kind of hard to be a role model when you got your phone out and you're doing stuff on it. So then disclose. Listen, I am looking up right now this for class, okay? And that's what matters. But if you sit down and as a teacher or as an aide in a classroom or something, and you sit there and you're giving out the assignment, and then all of a sudden you just sit down and you're on your phone, the kids are believing that you're doing something like either creating a shopping list or on Facebook or doing this stuff there. Well, it falls all apart. And so it's a level of engagement. So teachers have their prep times. There's other times in their.
I'm talking about other staff as well.
They all have breaks.
Yeah.
Yep. But
And they're
again,
aware of this is coming or not yet?
They all will be here.
Soon.
This was
Okay.
step one.
Okay.
This was step one. Not at all. But it is a shift because it's all about here we want to be engaged at all the times.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just, yeah.
Oh, it's a big shift coming.
So the second
Yes, ma'am.
piece to this is how do I put this? I would like for my board colleagues to consider that we look at this and then we review our policy number, what is it? I have it. 5136.
Yes.
So that one, at minimum, we make sure that whatever we call devices on this, we call it the same thing in the policy.
To your point.
Yes.
Thank you. This rubric has not been updated. It uses the term PEDs, electronic devices. The portion that's going in our handbook jives with our policy, personal communication devices.
Yes.
And I have sent an email to Mr. Hoppert,
Okay.
Andrew, I don't want to screw up his beautiful work
So
here.
this is going to be PCD then.
Personal communication device, yes.
Okay.
Everything, it'll jive across the board.
Right. And then I'm also thinking that like not that we tear into the policy, but we might just want to look at it to make sure that the vision of this is captured in the policy itself, right? Making sure that they are fully aligned, policy and that. Just because there's some murkiness that I think that it would be helpful if the 7 of us could look at and review in 5136.
Can we put that on the next board work session? Include that in for the discussion?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Not a problem.
Just some additional information, because a lot of the states have actually taken this on at their legislature and really kind of forced the schools into a restriction based on the legislative action. Here at the state of Michigan, at least so far, the legislature is certainly encouraging restrictions on cell phone use in schools, but that up to this point, they're still allowing each school to determine individually how they want to implement this. So I think at this point, it's good that we've come up with something, and hopefully the legislature doesn't come up with something that kind of conflicts with it.
Because right now, it's if you want
I
to do
know,
it,
yeah.
right? It's if you want to do it.
If you want to do it,
Yeah.
but they're certainly encouraging,
Right.
based on all the studies that say that student achievement will improve and student behavior will get much better when you do the restrictions.
Wonderful.
Even though this is informational, I would certainly encourage maybe that we as a board make a motion to just show our support for this plan.
Do we want to do the work session with the review of the policy so that we can get everything in order before we do that?
It's certainly worth,
We could do it on the next work session, then put it
Yeah.
on the next board meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
there's no rush certainly,
Right.
but
Then make the proposal at that time?
at that time, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, no,
At
fair
the,
enough.
at the board meeting
No.
following the work session.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Usually we like to have 2 meetings after a work session before it goes on, but I think in this circumstance, we should be
Yeah.
able to complete
Yeah.
what that, at that work session and then put it up at the next one.
Yeah.
Sure.
'Cause the policy itself, I don't think that we're gonna need to like completely tear it to shreds. I just think that there's like some nuance that we need to really drill down and get super clear on.
Okay.
Just because there's some like weird wording in a couple of places where you're just like, can we use it in this time or can we not use it in this time? So I feel like if we could just make the policy super duper explicit for this is when, yes, you can use your PCD. This is when you cannot use your PCD. And that would, I think, also help students, families, community members all understand not just this, but like the bigger implications of it too.
Would we need the handbook then, so all 3 jive, like David said? Would it be best just to have all 3 on hand?
No, we'll take care of the
Well,
handbook.
for us, I was gonna say, we don't do handbooks.
No,
That's
but I
not
was
us.
just saying to clarify.
That's not
Okay,
our
you will
purview.
adjust
Like we
based
said,
on that.
We saw in the when we talk reference handbook, we put policy numbers in there, so it does match.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. So athletic pay to participate, I was asked to put that on the agenda, so I'm turning it over to you, sir.
Yeah, and I guess I will acquiesce to Darla. I think we have a motion regarding pay to play.
Yeah, I'd move to discontinue all pay-to-play / participate programs without changes in services and offerings for students.
Okay, would we have support for that motion?
I'll support that.
Discussion, and I guess I'll just start it. I mean, this has certainly been a little bit of a contentious issue with a lot of parents. It gets to be very costly if their child is involved in multiple sports over multiple years at the current rates. And if they have obviously multiple children or as students, it can be extremely expensive for them to participate in sports at Monroe Public Schools. So by eliminating this, we basically level the playing field. Any family, no matter what their economic situation, their students can participate in sports with no fees.
Just on this, I said programs because I don't know if there's any other programs that require a cost. I don't think like band or choir or anything like that is. Is there any other programs? And I don't have the answer to that, so that's why I worded it the way I did, so that students have equal access to whatever curricular.
Pay to play is related to Final Forms, so that's only sports.
Okay. So,
But I mean, like, you, parents do have to pay to like go on the band trips, and they do
Yeah.
have to pay for like other things like going to solo and ensemble and
yeah.
all of that. So is there pay to play for performing arts? Not necessarily, but are there costs incurred when your students are in those programs? Yes. So
Yeah.
it's tomatoes to apples,
Yeah.
right? They look similar, but they're different.
Like, we're not gonna buy you a baseball mitt, but
Yeah.
we're gonna free up $150 so you can buy a baseball mitt and shoes.
Right. Well, and it's also like solo and ensemble is essentially like going to your big meet, your big regional meet, right? But they would have to pay to do that out of pocket.
So, are we wanting to ensure that we are all inclusive and we include everything in here?
See, I would love that.
I'm trying
but
to ask the
I
question.
would absolutely love
we have
that, but I am
fundraisers
so.
So I would ask that we just stick to the pay to participate
But-
for athletics at
right.
this point, and
Okay.
and let us gather
Because, yes.
this more information right here.
Okay.
So we're aware.
That may be a separate.
Yeah.
Correct.
I just didn't want to slight
Just-
any type of
Right.
program.
I love this idea. I do, because obviously I really want students to participate in extracurriculars. However, I really would like to hear about how we can justify this financially. Because we're coming at this, so when we had our presentation from our athletic director, he said that the pay to play brings in about $100,000 every year.
Right.
And that's a lot of money.
Right. And then he also talked about they get 166,000 in gate receipts, and they also have fundraisers, and they are marketing now for advertisements. And then they're also doing digital advertising for, like, he had mentioned like the basketball and stuff. So he did indicate in that presentation a lot of increased revenue opportunities that did not exist previously. So it would appear, and I asked him specifically, would you like to get rid of this? And he said yes. So, I mean, that would have been the time to say there would be a problem with it, but this is all, I mean, he listed all that out.
So what you will have though is this, the gate receipts are the gate receipts, so that's a revenue source. Teams get stronger, things grow, more gate, greater. As far as like the advertising and all that stuff, that doesn't go back into the general fund, that's just helping, that's all about like
So I have
supports the athletic department.
pay to play is $100,000 a year, and gate receipts is just $66,000 a year.
Oh, I had 166.
No, gate receipts is just $66,000 a year.
So when I look at a $1.39 million budget, I look at expenditures of $2 million that the athletic program has. It was listed as an overall budget, but I believe someone said it was just expenditures that went up and over that budget. And I look at the benefit of students for $100,000, and the fact that we might even have students that can really excel in sports and raise Monroe up, and they just couldn't play sports because they couldn't afford it. So we talked earlier about a return on investment. I think the return on investment of this is going to far outweigh any cost of revenue.
I mean, I think every study that you see regarding extracurricular activities, students get better grades, self-esteem goes up, all those things change. So that's why athletics are important, why drama is important, why musical programs are important. I think we should take a shot at this. And if we find there's as Mary's pointed out, there's maybe a little bit of hole in the budget, then we say, okay, then we have to readdress the hole in the budget. But I suspect it's not going to be of any real significance. I mean, $1,000 is $1,000. It's still important. But in the grand scheme of things, that's, if you're looking at the percentage of the budget versus the $100,000, it's pretty low. So if we can't fill that hole, then we can always readdress filling that hole a number of ways, maybe.
So something that I'm curious is if we could get projections on the revenue that we're hoping to get from the advertisements and the digital marketing and all of that, because he talked to us about those strategies, but I'm hoping that maybe before we actually like vote on this, we could get like a numeric projection.
So understand that those monies that will come in through advertising and all that stuff, what that would do is, that doesn't touch the general fund budget, so it won't help there. What it does is it helps to add in things that they want in the athletic department.
But it would still,
That we would.
in essence,
That we would have typically, well, we would have paid for it. Like, they're talking about like this big screen in the gymnasium. We would never pay for it. So that's what they'll
Right.
use it for. They'll use it for other upgrades that they know that the district would just not buy.
right. Okay.
I would think, the fact that Chet, when he was in there and this was brought up and specifically asked, is this something you would support? I would think that if he didn't feel like it was something that was worth the value of doing it, I do believe he wouldn't have said yes. And when he said yes, to me, that was, he said he supports it. So, anyway.
What are our gate fees?
So when you come to the game,
What are they? Is it different? Yeah.
I believe it's $6 for non-students. Students, I believe, get in free. Employees get in free with their badge, I believe.
Is it just varsity?
Oh, we pay for everything. We pay for the little kids. Well, isn't it a $5 fee to get in and $1 for
like
the app
5 or
cost?
6,
Isn't there a
yeah,
dollar
something like
charge?
that.
There was,
No, I don't think it's $1. It's not a full dollar. I don't know if it's 40 cents or 30 cents.
I'm just wondering
Through
if
the
it
app
would
you're talking
increase.
about?
yeah,
Yeah, service charge. Yeah,
yeah.
For self-family passes,
We do all that stuff. I couldn't tell you what it. how much it
self-family passes, or is there another way to recoup that money?
There's, the way you're gonna get it back is, basically. 10
Increased
more-
participation.
Well, no, you're gonna get it back by, 10 more kids moving into your school district, due to not having to pay. That's the primary way you would see that money back, one for one. Otherwise.
I think your return on investment is going to be huge on it. It can be calculated whether you're looking at increase in academics, like Brian said, because, of the requirement to keep grades up. I just think there's a lot of ways it would benefit.
a lot of benefits.
Benefit the community if you're
For
giving away
clarity,
7,000 meals.
We do find ways, if we have kids that financially can't pay, we get them, it gets taken care of. Is it a stressful item for parents? It is a stressful item for parents. And so it has all that, but a student has never been denied the ability to play due to not being able to pay. Now, there's kids that have used that as their excuse, so they didn't play. But we will do everything in our power. What you'll be doing is making it so they can't, that excuse is just gone.
Well, I think I've been talking to a lot of people and people in sports, and they said, people that can't afford it tell their kid, I'm sorry, you can't play sports. They don't typically always go and say, hey, can you help me out so my kid can play? But they also do that, like they say, I'm sorry, I can't afford a $100 pair of shoes. We just can't afford it. They don't go run and tell everybody we can't afford the $100 pair of
But
shoes.
you gotta remember, our staff.
That's just based on conversations I had with people.
Yeah, our staff is, though, they're engaged, they talk to the kids, and they know, and, because they're out there continually trying to recruit to get kids onto the different services. But it is still a barrier, without a doubt. And so by doing this, you're lifting a barrier, and it's just one of those things we deal with it in the budget for this year. You're exactly right. If it's something that we have to revisit 1 year from now, it gets revisited.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mr. Sabatini,
Yes.
Mrs. Trassi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
No.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-1.
All right, and lastly is the Custer Parent Loop. So up on the screen, I want to give a little bit of background information so you can see it. This is our last building to try and address the cars out on the road. So if you look to the left side of the screen, you would see the new entrance that would be proposed. And so I'm going to stand up here so people can all see it. So this is where the new entrance is at, right across from Fenmore, the driveway there. It'd be 4 lanes wide. It tapers down. So we're going to introduce the zipper approach to people out there. We're going to use those words. Probably use a little video showing that. Actually, Melissa will be doing the video. Showing how these 2 lanes join into one, these 2 lanes join into one, so it's 2, same thing. This will pull about right around 150 to 200 cars off of that area. The cars will stop right here, which is the main drive that we come in right now and out. So they'll stop right there until about 5 minutes before classes dismiss. What that should allow is our buses to come in here. Because right now, if you are a bus and you get caught out here, you can't get over here until that line starts to move, okay? So this is the buses only coming in here. This will be where the parents will come in, they'll stop, and then once it's time to move forward, they will move forward, and we'll still be doing the drop-off in that area there. There is a stagger in the times between the Early Learning Center or preschool building and the Custer One building. And so because of that stagger, that will allow then the buses and our kindergarten through 4th grade parents to basically be gone by the time this side is happening right there. We were really, we were able to get 2 quotes on it. We had 3, we asked another person and 2 other people, they declined to quote on this. The 2 companies that quoted were the ones that one did Razorville, the other one did the Manor. So they are very much familiar with this work right here. This is not being paved, okay? Down the road, it's prepped so that at some point in time it could be paved if we want it, but right now it will not be paved. The biggest reason being is, when we're seeing it at Manor, we want time to pack it down, okay? Be driving on it so that way it doesn't break, and to see what the water is like. So at Razorville, we had to put down some new gravel in there to make it work better. Well, at Manor, this year we saw with all the rain, okay, we had to do some other things with it. So we're actually, for the next year, we asphalting that, that's part of our big project over there at Manor. So we're gonna have to do some engineering, make sure we take care of all the water. So this will be raised up. What's really wonderful is being able to work inside the county together. So the sheriff stepped alongside of us on this. Between he and I, bringing the right people to the table, and the drain commission is like, oh, we're good. The moment you put asphalt on it, needs to get an engineer, we need to have conversations. Yay, they've signed off, gone. The road commission has already said, listen, get yourself your excavation guy hired. We'll meet out there, and don't worry about any fees for the permitting, but we'll give you the scope of what you need for the drain and all that, and so this work can get done. And so we had 2 bids, and you can see that, and we gave that out to you here this afternoon. It was handed out right before the meeting started. And they came in from Toma Trucking and Disbro Excavating. And so we are recommending to the Board of Education to approve and accept the bid of Disbro Excavating and Trucking for the upgrade to the Custer Parent Loop as presented at a cost not to exceed $44,800. This purchase will be funded through by our sinking fund. And just so happens, Razorville was right around that 33,000. I think Manor is right around the 40. So that 44 number is really good. We see that.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion regarding the Custer Loop?
I'll make a motion that we accept the Desbro Excavating Company for not to exceed $44,800 for the Custer Loop project. Paid for by the sinking fund budget.
Do we have support?
Support.
Discussion.
Andy, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
When they come down the final part of the loop,
Yep.
are they staying in 2 rows through picking up their students?
So here's
4.
right 4, and then right here it tapers
2.
down to 1.
Oh, okay.
So right here.
It is a
here,
double
right,
zipper.
So you're gonna have a double zipper.
Okay.
Okay?
Like,
So I know it's gonna be fun when we shoot video here. So you got 4 cars, tapering it down to 2, then down to 1. So we went all the way through.
so what I'm hearing is Custer parents are gonna be able to go to Detroit and really teach people how to merge.
Yes, they will. Our Custer parents, but the beauty is here, again, as we shared, you're getting all those cars off that road.
Yes.
Okay, and, to our parents that wanna come early, not too loud, you come early and sit right
Yeah,
there.
parking lot.
and be
You know,
good
it's
to
a
go,
half
try to
hour
open
at
things up,
minimum.
And then move. So,
I gotta
In
believe
those
the
lines
people that live in
myself.
those few houses are gonna be thrilled.
well,
Which houses?
The ones
The-
across
the-
from
the
Custer.
houses right there.
across the street. What's thrilling is, honestly, now, when,
There's a house right in the
when
middle.
people leave,
Oh, that's-
now you can go both directions very easily.
We manage
And our buses can get in there, we get our buses loaded and get them
Yeah.
out the door. And that's one of the things that Melissa will do is, they'll be doing pick up, and then when it's time for those buses to go, they'll stop, and those buses will get out of there, and then they'll re-engage the parents. So it's kinda like if you get trapped out at the high school, right, when the buses are, kids are leaving, all of a sudden they stop all traffic, let the buses go, and then you're trying to get back into it, so it'll be one of those kinds of situations, buses first.
Do we have timing? Is this something they can complete over the summer here?
Oh, it is. So what'll happen is, if at all possible, next Monday or Tuesday before I go on vacation, we'll meet, with Desboro, Tim Salmian, Dave, myself, along with, the county, and put it all together, and then nicely, as soon as, the county is like, okay, we got it all, these guys get in. I mean, they'll get in there real quick and.
Raisinville took like 2 days start to finish, right?
Yep, yep.
Boom,
So
boom,
those will be
done.
all operational so that when we get into August and Melissa comes back, she's shooting video and communicating out how this will all work.
Will there be any kind of gate
A
or
walkover.
security at that entrance or no?
Down there by, we haven't talked at all about that, but we'll be putting the gate there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be, because we
So
gotta
why-
keep them off the grass there in the Custer Park, Fields area.
Okay.
Yep, so there will be a gate there. Thank you.
Very good. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Sabatini.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Next on the agenda is old business. We have no old business tonight, so I'll turn it over to Superintendent Shaw for superintendent comments.
All right, I feel like I'm Dave Payne right now, as much talking I've done tonight. We had that a couple meetings ago, Dave, didn't we? All right, so summer hours and holiday weekend are coming. So the administrative building beginning this week works Monday through Thursday. And then the offices will be closed next Thursday and Friday. And then we'll be back into 5-day work week. I think it's that second week of August. As a reminder, the June 8th board meeting has been canceled. Our regular meeting will be on Tuesday, July 22nd. We are hosting a special board work session on Monday, the 21st. Oh, boy. So the Monroe County Fair is coming up, all right? I don't want to say it out loud too fast because, my goodness, we're not out of June yet, and before we know it, then we're at the fair. So Monroe County Fair, parade, all that kind of good stuff. And so a lot we'll be discussing with you at that point in time in our next meeting. 2 other items, Waterloo. Oh, my goodness. I was in there yesterday. About 2/3 of the building was, the carpeting was done. The one kindergarten classroom, what's the board? It's not a board, it's the screen.
Smart board?
Interactive touchscreen, that's up. They're really moving along nicely. So We'll get you guys back out there really soon here, but that project's moving along well. I think the one item that I'm just extremely excited about is our summer cleaning. The crew is in. The middle school is about 2/3 already done. Their Custer, the little building, the early learning center, that one's about ready to be turned over to the ISD so they can move their stuff in and get out of there. Good, tomorrow morning. So they're really knocking it out. And the whole goal is that we wanted everything done in these buildings back, turned over to the principals as soon as possible. So for example, if an area can be opened up to them, they can have it because we have teachers that want to come in. But the big part is our 10-month secretaries come back early August. And we want these buildings clean. So that way our custodial, our cleaning staff is then into just a daily mode. And it eliminates a lot of stress right there. The last 3 years, we've had a lot going on. And when we hit August, we're fully believing that everything will work just fine when it comes to Orchard and that project. Raisinville, you're going to see some pictures in the Week in Review this week. I think they're just about done with demolition out there. I was out yesterday. I think they're trying to make so the demolition guys are gone tomorrow. And so once they leave, then it's all the new stuff going in there. So, but that one is a big project because remember that whole office area is getting redone. And so a lot of work there, but everything is hitting right on track. And so thank you to Dave, his team, for all that work. A lot of organization went into it, but it was amazing. That first day after we had school was out, you would have thought that school had been out for about 2 weeks for all the work that got done within a 48-hour period. And we've always said that you buy time up front, and boy, oh boy, did they ever. So that's all I have tonight, sir.
Thank you. Public commentary, I think we have one.
Yes, we do. Mr. Lavoie, would you like to join us in the front? And I'll cue you. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you. I think everyone can hear me. I didn't know how to do this, so I'm going to preface it this way. It's not a gotcha. It's not the idea behind it. But when I put in my application, I started to look at the website, right, to try to educate myself on the bylaws, that kind of stuff. And as I was going through, and 3 times during this meeting at the very least, the legislature was mentioned. So I went to government contacts on the website, and Rick Snyder is the governor, Dale Zorin is the state senator, and Joe Bellino is the state representative. So I don't know who's in charge of that, nor does it matter to me, but PR-wise, I think the website, Mr. Sabadini understands this, I think, too, being sales, that's the front-facing thing to the public. So, and obviously this is years old. Gretchen Whitmer is going into her 7th, yeah, whatever it is, 7th year, I think. So me, I just think it needs to be fixed. So then I was thinking, well, maybe it'd be interesting to have, because it isn't just as simple as doing one state representative as a different one. There's multiple ones that now represent since redistricting was done. So one of the things that I thought could be interesting, and maybe you want to take this down or just put some of them on there and then make it a project of a government class or civics or something for the kids to figure out who their state representative is and what the district actually encompasses. So just something, and again, it's not a gotcha. I didn't know it was actually, if I would have been chosen, it was going to be one of my first projects, is to suggest something like this. So didn't want to make it an issue during the thing yesterday. I noticed it actually last week. So just put that one out there. Also, because I think you discussed that as far as state government and legislators and whatever, tomorrow, I believe that the state Senate is doing some hearings on guns. And I don't know if that is, I don't know exactly what the bills are. Not my job to do that. I kind of looked at some of them. I'm actually going to discuss them with another organization I'm part of on Thursday, although we got an alert. So it could change in theory, probably not, but it could change in theory some of the gun-free zones. So that's all I wanted to say. And I also, one more thing, I guess. I heard the board when one of the criteria that was enunciated was to show up at board meetings. So here I am. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the only,
That is all, yes.
okay, thank you, Carrie. Board member commentary. Are there any board members who wish to make comments here tonight?
Do we start far left and work right?
Okay, since you're new, we'll start with you, Brian.
I'm gonna dovetail a little bit off of Bill, and this is something that has aggravated me for a long time. When my daughter was in sports, it's very hard to get sports scores posted on the website, and I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why that is. Maybe coaches don't accurately give them, but if you look at the schedule as the teams play, there's very seldom scores noted, or it takes a long time for them to get there. So as a parent or as someone who's still just tracking different sports teams, a much more speedy posting, which I would think would be very easy as far as just a text from the coach, hey, we won 3-0, we lost 4-5, whatever. So yeah, that was just something that Bill triggered when I was thinking about that.
Thank you, Brian. Carrie?
Yes. Home band camp is going on this week, and they will showcase their marching skills on Friday at 11:30 if anyone wants to brave the heat. In addition to the website suggestions, we're going to have lots of suggestions about the website tonight. My last one is going to be a senior, and I tell you, every time I go to call the school, I cannot find it on the website. It is so hard to find the school phone number on the website. So I don't know how many other parents have that problem or have complained about that problem, but if you could have like contacts and all of the schools listed in one page, or some clear way of finding the phone numbers. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Darla?
Okay, I'm going to move faster, but I got a few. On the redesign update, I know when we discussed it, we were going to be getting updates at regular board meetings. We were getting the chart. I point to you because you're the chart person. We were going to keep that updated, and we were going to indicate any of the financial obligations on that. I think the last time we had an update was beginning of May, so end of April. I think beginning of May, there wasn't much, but it was
But
something.
when you say chart, you mean like the project timeline?
Remember that project thing, and you
I just
said
wanna
you'd
make sure.
keep us updated and show us where you're at to make sure you're on track with all those things. And any cost items associated with any of those line items would be indicated on there so we can track that. And then just an overall update on where the redesign is. And that was just, was stated that that would be done, so.
Okay. I can definitely include that information in the
Thank you. Because I was looking into the paper for play thing, and I always feel like I'm shutting you guys off when I lean forward here, but one of the things that I looked at was transportation for programs and for events and different teams. And I always feel like, and I'm going to use a word and I don't typically use, but I don't think there's an equitable distribution of transportation services available across the board for each sporting thing. And so my question is, can we look at that? Can we see what those I did pull up the Mets contract to look at some of the contract language associated with that. I won't get into that now, but can we look at transportation costs or stuff across the board for the teams? When SEL was presented the other day, I had requested that be put on a board work session so we can further discuss that. I'm requesting that again. And then I was clearing up notes today. The ProMedica contract, during the contract, it was the parental consent policy that was included in that. We had to, I don't know, like, is that policy somewhere? I asked it for a copy of it. I'm like, is it somewhere? And I don't know where it is. Like, I thought we were going to attach it to the contract. And if it's somewhere, my apologies, but it was still in my notes as an unresolved matter in my notes.
That was one of those items that you had, it was in the contract, but you said that was already addressed, so why was it in there? Because they had that.
You said you were, the contract said that you were going to write one. A year had went by and the language still said you were going to write one. And I said, I'm assuming you wrote one.
Yeah.
And you said,
that was
yeah.
for-
So the language got clarified that it has been written. And I said, can I please have a copy of that? Or can we attach a copy of that to the contract itself? So that they stick together. But again, it was just on my notes as unresolved, and that's why I bring it up.
All right.
Thank you.
Gary, any comment?
Since we're working on pet peeves here in the school system, I would like to have on a future work session, a discussion and a policy implementation on a dress code, a universal dress code from the board members on down to the kindergartners. I think that people and responsibilities need to dress and act accordingly. And I don't think that we always do. And I think we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And I would like to talk to the rest of the board and come up with an idea for a dress code for everybody from the Board of Education to the kindergartners. Okay, so that's my pet peeve. I'll shut up.
Okay. Stacy?
I just have to say I'm excited about this cell phone protocol that we're still discussing. I just think cell phones cause a lot of distractions and a lot of problems in our schools. And I'm also excited because I live on Custer end of town about this Custer.
So, I would just like to live in a fantasy world with all of you right now. My wish and my dream is that for our K-12 institutions to be fully funded in a world where we don't have to worry about pay to play and we don't have to worry about doing all these fundraisers to pay for Solon Ensemble and have boosters associations to help chip in and cover for the costumes for the drama department, and we don't have to do all of these things. It would be such a fantastic and wonderful place if, man, we just had funding to do the things that we needed to do. And then like do them well, right? And to do them well. And so like Darla, when you made your comment about like we really need to look at the equitable transportation for different sporting events, I'm sure somewhere there was a really difficult decision that was made to provide with the limited budget that we had. Imagine if we had the funding to not even have to wonder, right? Right? Like, wouldn't it be phenomenal if K-12 education was just fully funded? I'm even going to push it, pre-K-12 was fully funded, and we didn't have to like bootstrap our budgets with like fundraisers and boosters associations and whatever other groups that we have that have all these other line items in our budget. I just wanted to like live in that dream world for a minute with you. That's all.
I guess just a couple of comments from myself is that I was glad to see we passed the literacy program. I think this is another step towards improving our scores and our student proficiencies, you know, with the Envision math that we changed this previous year, along with this literacy. I just think I fully expect and hope to see some significant improvements in our M-STEP scores and our assessments as well. So I do want to congratulate you know, the teams that have put together those and look forward to some very successful implementation. So thank you very much, Andrea. Your team has done a great job. Okay. Okay, with no further comment, I think that completes our agenda for this evening. And our next regular Board of Education meeting will be on Tuesday, July 24th, 2025.
That's
We'll be-
22nd.
Oh.
There's a work session, I believe, on the 21st.
22nd.
Do you want my magnifying glass? I'm gonna start bringing.
No, it does say 24. I'm not- Okay. And the board work session will be held prior to the meeting beginning at 5:30. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Before that, can I let everybody know, can we not get up from our seats until Tom has concluded the meeting? We jump the gun on him all the time, so. I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Do we have support? Support. Show of hands? Okay. Monroe Public Schools Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 is adjourned, and the time is 8:54. Thank you, everybody.
There we go. There we go.